Today, I'm very pleased to welcome Bogdan, who will present eDelivery, and also Petri, who will present X-Road. These two solutions have been identified as high potential interoperability solutions for European public administration by the European member state. So today, Bogdan and Petri will present all the benefits of these solutions, but also explain how they can meet the needs of European public administration. So please feel free to participate in this session by taking our survey or asking questions. So we will have time to ask questions after each session, but you can also ask questions in the chat. So now let's begin with Bogdan's presentation of eDelivery. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bernard and colleagues. I will share my screen. If you could please confirm that you can see it.
Yes, we can.
Good, then let's get started. I am Bogdan Dumitriu. I work in the European Commission in Digit, and I'm the project officer in charge of implementing the eDelivery building block, which is work that the Commission does via DG Connect as a policy owner and DG Digit as a solution provider. So I'm here on behalf of the solution provider, and of course I will be happy to take you through several key points that explain what the eDelivery building block is all about. So let's get started. The first slides that I prepared will look at the present, because eDelivery was not invented yesterday, was not created yesterday. It has been with us for more than a decade, but I prefer to explain why it exists through the lens of today rather than the lens of 10, 12 years ago. I will get to that in a few slides, but let's look at today, because we are here to look at the future, not to look at the past. And I think eDelivery's raison d'etre is very much with us if in 2026. So to do that, I will start or go in a quick cross-section through the European policy landscape and the types of issues that the various domains that are part of this landscape need to deal with. And we will see very easily, and it's not going to require a lot of insight to find out the common needs in various domains and various sectors. We start with the justice domain, where, of course, you have many interactions that require exchange of documents, be they between claimants and courts, or lawyers and courts, or courts themselves, or various prosecutions offices, and so on. So, of course, they need to have access to secure digital communication. We can move to procurement, which is something that all public administrations and not only are dealing with. And of course, talking about e-procurement, electronic-based or digital procurement, then we have to have secure digital communication for various documents, including invoices, but of course not limited to invoices. If we look at customs, the same holds there. There are companies bringing goods in the European Customs Union, and there are various custom procedures that have to be carried out, and those have to be done in a secure way, and of course in a digital way. Moving on to health, we see the same pattern repeating over and over. We have patients, hospitals, insurance companies that have to exchange records, prescriptions, health data of all kinds, and all of this, of course, given the sensitivity of such data, needs to be done securely. Moving on to transport, we have trucks, we have trains, we have inland waterways where we have various boats that are traveling. So all of these need to provide documentation for carrying freight all over Europe, right? And this communication also has to be done securely between the economic operators that are in charge of this, and of course the authorities that have to enforce certain rules where we talk about transport. The list goes on and on, but I will stop with the last domain of public administration, where we also have administrative procedures where citizens go to city halls, they go to ministries, they go to various administrations to request, well, the carrying out of a certain procedure. There we have to also communicate documents from one administration to the other, cross-border, as well as within member states, and that has to be done securely. Of course, that is not all. I can go on with a long list. I will not spend too much time on it, but we have the same needs in the transportation of gas. We have the same needs in insolvency procedures, and so on and so forth. I will continue with my list. You might ask why these and not 20 or 200 others. Well, the ones I selected and I put on these slides are not there because there is not a similar need in, as I said, tens and hundreds and even thousands of other workflows and domains. It is simply because all of these, which I'm showing here, are already using eDelivery. So these, and I go on with collaboration among prosecutors. Well, this maybe is a bit of a hope for now. So we had a recent meeting with the agency in charge of train telematics, and they might decide to use eDelivery. So this is not quite there yet. But if I refer to all of the other ones, they are already either in advanced stages of preparation, or I would say 80 to 90% already in production. All of these secure workflows and secure exchange of data and documents, they involve well, usually hundreds, if not even thousands of different organizations spread all over the EU, and sometimes also from outside of the EU. They need to ensure that IT systems that are already there, even before eDelivery or even before any cross-border workflow is put in place, is able to be connected in a way to the hundreds of other IT systems of the hundreds of other different organizations, right? The final purpose, of course, is for all of these IT systems to be able to exchange data and documents securely. What is important to also keep in mind is that these IT systems, first of all, they are there. They cost millions, tens of millions of euros sometimes to create. They have a lot of human knowledge behind them. They have a lot of, let's say, habit and national procedures. So you cannot simply say the European Union institutions will propose a brand new system which will replace what is already there at the national level. Instead, we have to look at a model where we can interconnect what is there in a way that we acknowledge that these IT systems were not made to work together, sometimes not even inside the member states, let alone across borders, right? So we have to come up with the IT architecture that allows the interconnection of these systems. So all of this in a couple of slides is why eDelivery needs to be there to provide a solution. Well, eDelivery or solutions similar to eDelivery. In the end, eDelivery is one option to do this. You will hear my colleague from X-Road explaining or presenting a different option, and of course we can have many similar approaches. What is important, of course, is that we settle on one, two, or a very limited number of approaches, and we make sure that those are used at scale. With this, I move a bit back in time just to see how we got here to 2026. So eDelivery was created or was initiated as part of the large-scale pilots that were done before 2014. Some of you may be familiar with some of the names: eCodex, Peppol, Stork, and others, which were then put together, or the results of which were examined, assessed by a final large-scale pilot called eSense, that selected a number of building blocks, such as eDelivery, among them eID, eSignature, eArchiving, and many others, and of course eDelivery itself. And handed over these various building blocks as the agreed solutions, primarily among member states, because these were all pilots driven by member states, co-funded by the European Commission, but driven by member states primarily. And the member states looked at different options to do eDelivery, to do e-identification, to do e-signature, and settled on one choice, let's say. Those choices were handed over to the Commission, and in the previous MFF 2014-2020, the Commission was in charge of creating services around them, making them more market ready, because of course they were in a pilot or advanced piloting stage after the pilots were over, and promoting them first and foremost among public administration actors, but also in some cases in the private sphere. We also created a philosophy around, I mean, this was already there in the pilots, but this was strengthened also by the Commission, that this has to be standards first, a standards first approach, not a products first approach. So we looked at promoting the specifications and also inviting the market players, the private players, whether commercial or open source, profit driven or not, to implement those standards in multiple products so that there is a wide choice for those who may want to use building blocks like eDelivery. And then more recently, in the current or in the ongoing MFF, we are looking at scale up. So we go from a few implementations, some bigger, some smaller, to some tens of implementations today, and this is still ongoing, right? And we meet you in the context of the Interoperable Europe program and the Interoperable Europe solution discussion, and we certainly can see delivery as very well positioned to be considered at some point in time, sooner or later, as an Interoperable Europe solution because of the large level of adoption, because the needs that it answers to are very present and will continue to be present in this sphere, public administration going forward, and because, in our opinion, at least, it provides a mature and battle-tested solution that could be further adopted. So with this in mind, let's spend now a couple of minutes to understand a bit in a bit more detail, not a lot of technical detail, but just more in a conceptual way, what eDelivery is, a little bit more than what I've said until now. And the best way to do it, I believe, is through an analogy to the post or to the PayPal delivery, which is mediated by various postal services. Of course, we know there are many actors that are present in this space, but a way this works is very, very similar across different actors. So you have a sender and you have a recipient, and of course you want, well, here we take the example of a letter, but you can just as well take the example of a package. Nothing much changes. It's just a matter of size. Just like in the digital world, you can send a small email, or you can send a large email with a lot of attachments. Similarly, other type of email-like communication, right? But the process is the same. You write the message, you prepare the message, possibly with some attachments. Then you select the address of the destination. You cannot just say the name. You need to be a bit more precise. There is a system of addressing, right, that we use in the real world. You typically know that address, or perhaps you have to look it up. The same would happen in the digital world. And then you put that in an envelope or in a package or what have you, which is then handed over to the postal system that makes sure that it is carried to its intended recipient, where, well, among other things, the recipient would expect and will check typically that the envelope was not opened, the package was not opened. Of course, we know this is not always the case, but at least this is ideally something we want to guarantee. And then they will extract and read the message. Now, what I think is important to see on this picture is what is the responsibility and what does the sender of the message, and again, I say message, it can be package, it can be anything else, and the receiver of that message have to care about. They have to care about their own business. So I need to send this text to a business partner or to a court or what have you. And none of them wants to create a post system, right? So you don't want, as a business or citizen or what have you, to be in charge of hand delivering your message to the recipient or inventing, creating, operating a post service. You prefer to hand it over to the professionals of delivery and leave it with them to take care of things. And exactly this is the scope that we also target with eDelivery. We want to create an agnostic system, a system agnostic to what it is transporting. We don't care what you put in your letter. Is it an XML file? Is it a PDF? Is it random data, encrypted data, unencrypted data? It doesn't really matter. Is it big data? Is it small data, etc.? In the end, we don't care, and we just simply want to provide an electronic delivery service that can get that data across. But the analogy, of course, also breaks down here and there. I will come back to this a bit later, but just to give you an idea, especially about the scope of what we do in eDelivery, it is exactly the scope that the postal services More precisely, we provide a blueprint for creating the postal service. We do not operate ourselves the postal service. I will come back to this a bit later. So let's see this in a slightly more technical way, because we now move to the electronic version of this, which is organized around what we call access points. And the access points, you can see them as the post offices, right? These are, of course, software services that have to run somewhere, but functionally speaking, they are just like the post office. So you are a sender, you have your own IT system, because of course we are not no longer writing or talking about paper written documents. We are talking about electronically generated documents by IT systems, and those need to be sent reliably, with integrity, with acknowledgement of receipt, and many other characteristics between a sending organization or a sending IT system and a receiver organization / IT system. And we provide standards, services, technology, sample implementations, etc. I will come back again to the full scope of services that we have in the building block, but essentially to make it possible for various actors to establish these access points, these postal points, for senders and receivers to send and receive data securely. Of course, we have a lot of technical know-how behind this, where we deal with encryption, with digital signatures, with acknowledgement of receipt, in the, digest, etc. We can get into the nitty-gritty technical stuff, but that's not the point of today. What is important is that we guarantee confidentiality through encryption, and integrity through digital signatures, and also non-repudiation of receipt, which is the property that the sender can receive something back from the recipient, which in case of a dispute, he as the sender can take to court and say, well, I have this proof that this specific message was sent on such and such time and date, and the recipient cannot claim that they did not receive it. So this is the non-repudiation of receipt. Moving on, as I promised, I want to clarify what is in scope of the building block, not what you can build outside of the work my team is doing, but what specifically my team is doing and then providing as let's say, deliverables to the community of which you are part. And then what is out of scope, not in the sense that eDelivery doesn't need it, but in the sense that these are different actors, you, other service providers, what have you, who have to also understand that this has to be done on top of what we provide at the outset. So what we have in scope is to provide technical specifications and sample software, which implements those technical specifications. So as I said, this is specifications driven, it's not product driven. We do provide products as well, but it is important to stress that there are some tens of implementations other than the one we provide, and we are very happy to promote all of them, and we even have services to test that they are conformant and so forth, because what is important is to avoid any kind of vendor lock-in. So we do not want to put you on a path, on an architecture, on an approach which would tie you to a vendor, even if that vendor is the European Commission. The European Commission will be known to have discontinued various products that it started developing over the years, and then this can be equally an issue. Of course, perhaps it's of a different nature than being locked in with a commercial vendor, but it can still be an issue in practice, right? So the key here is let's build systems and interoperability around specifications, not around products. And then we, of course, have support services and stakeholder management service and a slew of other smaller activities that go together with this, because we have to explain what these are, we have to help people use them, we have to make them known, and so on. What we do not provide, so let's say if I put things a bit in mirror here, is a single eDelivery network. So we do not operate a network. We don't tell you, come to us, you get for free or for some fee access to the network. No, we do not operate a network. We are a small team. The operating a network is an activity that is of a completely different scale. And also we do not deal with end user access. So all of the solutions we provide are targeting other IT systems. So integration with other IT systems. good mental model is a database, right? You don't expect your end users to interact directly with the database. You will put some kind of IT systems in between the end user, the human user, and the database. It is the same with eDelivery software. It is not meant for direct use by end users. It is instead meant for being connected to an IT system and speak machine language, not speak human interface language. Let's come back to what is in scope. We propose a message exchange model around several topologies and built around a protocol. It's called the AS4 protocol, or EBMS3, specialized by AS4 and then specialized by our own so-called profile of AS4. So this is a bit of a hierarchy of protocols that we are dealing with here. This is probably too technical, but the point is this is something that we give you. We say this is how access points, how post offices should talk to each other. You don't have to care about that. This is only something that implementers of software that follows our specifications have to care about. You as users of that software, you can be, let's say, I mean, for you, all of this is transparent. It's there. It does the job. Just like none of us probably, or I don't want to presume, but I expect none of us really understand the 5G or any number G protocol. We are still very happy to use our phones and make calls. And somebody, experts, know how to implement this protocol in phones and antennas and whatever else is required, right? Just in the same way, we have several companies and ourselves as one vendor it is for free, but I speak about it in a conceptual way of such software who have to worry about understanding the protocol. You as users would not. So this is the message exchange model, and then of course we ensure payload integrity. So once again, this is completely payload agnostic, but we want to make sure that it's transported in a way that ensures integrity. However, we do not deal with data exchange agreements. So whatever you need to send as organizations, we do not control, we do not dictate, and it will be, and we also don't provide any templates for it. So you would have to agree in what order and what type of data you need to exchange, who sends first, who responds with what. We ensure delivery, not enforce a specific type of data exchange workflow. The same goes for the payload definition. So we do not dictate what kind of payload or any payload format. It is completely open, and that's what makes eDelivery generic and usable across all of the domains I showed you in the first slides. And finally, I will not spend time on this in detail looking at the time, but we also provide a specific choice for the discovery model. So do you already know your interlocutor, or do you need to look them up essentially? And we give options for both. And then also for the security model, how and it is based on digital certificates. So how can you ensure that you can trust the sender and the recipient in such a network? We do not provide end-to-end encryption. It doesn't mean it cannot be implemented on top of eDelivery, but eDelivery natively is only ensuring encryption between the access points, not anything else. And we also do not really enforce a specific network, so you can freely choose the internet, the VPN, Testa, or any other TCP/IP network that may be relevant in your case. eDelivery will work with any of them just the same. I already hinted at this, so going very quickly over what we provide. I spend enough time on specifications and products, so I leave those just as titles. Conformance testing is very important as well, because to make sure that indeed other vendors can implement products according to our specifications, we also want to give you the confidence that those implementations are conformant, at least to a certain level of precision. And this is something we implement in a conformance testing service. This then it allows us to publish a list of products that implemented our specifications, and we have tested as having implemented it correctly. Communications and events, as already mentioned, and then supporting services, onboarding tech, and others as usual. So let's move on. I had prepared 3 showcases, but looking at the time, I will only present one and let you maybe look at the slide for the other 2. This is the once only technical system. Some of you may be familiar with the name or even with the system. It is one of the ecosystems in Europe that implements or that uses eDelivery. And this is the system that allows the citizen to go to request, let's say, to register a car, for instance, and then for this, the authority will need certain proofs, certain documents, and those documents may come from 2 or more other member states. And the eDelivery access points will mediate the request for the relevant documents between public authorities and then also the transmission of those documents. I don't go into further details here, but this is just to showcase one example where eDelivery, of course, is very deep. Nobody using once only as an end user will know the name eDelivery, but those who have implemented the system are certainly familiar. This is the import control system generation 2. This is a critical system from Digitax Sud. I will not explain it further, but what is the interesting property here is that they have to deal with 8 million messages per day, and this is an extreme case of high performance, high load and critical system, which is equally possible using eDelivery. And then recently come into force the European Maritime Single Window. This is about transmission of data from ships that come to port to the member state authorities. It is equally today implemented using eDelivery. Looking beyond the 3 showcase examples, of course, we have a large number of other ecosystems, some very large, some medium-sized and spread all over Europe. We also have several national implementations, again, for different purposes, smaller and bigger. But in general, we have a relatively good level of coverage of the European Union member states. Of course, some will be more active than others, but in general, I think it's very likely that everybody will find somebody in their administration who is dealing with eDelivery. It may not be immediately obvious who that person is or that team is, but I think it's by now the case in most, if not all, member states. On to the challenges. I will maybe just show these all at once and simply speak about the last one, because perhaps some of the other ones I already hinted at, such as perhaps the need for 1 or 2 governed or EU institution-run networks, and let's say the lack of end-to-end encryption and so forth. But certainly for us, today's challenge is securing long-term funding past the first 14 years. So as I said, we started having eDelivery funding from the European Commission around 2014, 2015. At past 2027, we need to find a long-term funding model that is sustainable, and this is clearly one of the big challenges for us today. Of course, we can go maybe as part of the questions you may have asked through a few of the other ones. Otherwise, I think the points I leave in the presentation will speak for themselves. On to the last 3 slides, which are about the benefits. And here I wanted to make a bit of a map between the benefits of eDelivery and the interoperable solution, let's say, priorities. And if you look at the first 3, I will present 9 of them, 9 benefits. Here we talk about the use of a standardized protocol, about security, accountability, and reliability, and about interoperability. And these map, in our opinion, on the openness where it comes to the standardized protocol, because it is an open standard. It is something that is not for a fee. It's not an ISO. I mean, it is also an ISO standard, but it is natively an OASIS standard, which means it's completely open. Then we have, of course, the security and data privacy as a core tenet of the building block. And finally, if again we look at the interoperability and the way we achieve interoperability through standards and through multiple vendors, including plenty of open source ones, that hints, of course, in the direction of openness. Moving on to the next 3, we have payload and business agnostic approach. I presented this quite in detail already in previous slides. Asynchronous messaging. I didn't speak about this yet. So this is this makes sure that if you need a fast turnaround, so you have a request and a response, that can be done. But if if you need to use eDelivery in a context where the preparing a response needs some kind of manual process, this is equally possible through the natively asynchronous nature of eDelivery. So if you need to send a response 2 days later because you have to go to the archives or what have you, or you need some internal processes to take place first, that is fully supported. And then once again, eDelivery is already used in tens of projects, so it is by now a very, very mature solution. And looking at the Interoperable Europe solution dimensions, of course, the fact that we are fully payloaded business agnostic points to full ability to reuse eDelivery in any domain. And we also, this is our raison d'etre, so I would say that we are there to be reused. We do not serve a direct purpose except to make sure others can reuse it for secure communication. And of course, we look at the priority number 2 listed under needs and user centricity, which is interconnection of member state systems, IT systems in the European Union. Finally, the last 3, cost efficiency, scalability, and vendor and platform agnosticism. I think these speak to themselves, so I will directly go to the mapping exercise we've done. Cost efficiency means that overall, by using eDelivery instead of inventing eDelivery every time somebody needs secure communication, will lead to overall sustainability and a reduced total cost of ownership, especially if we can consider the number of systems that can reuse eDelivery. It's not going to be reused by 1 or 2 systems, but by tens and hundreds of systems. And finally, I come back to the openness and the sovereignty angles linked to the fact that we are vendor agnostic and platform agnostic. So you will have products that you can run on various platforms, operating systems, and application servers of various types. This is the identity card that you can look at in the presentation. I will leave this with you. I will not present this. It is there just for later consumption. And likewise, my last slide presents a QR code, which takes you to a page which has some, it's a 1 page or 1 page in size, and provides some initial links to several further reading resources that you can look at if you were left curious by my presentation and would like to learn more. So with this, and apologies for being a bit over time, I hand back over to our host for continuing the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bogdan, for the detailed presentation. I should have shared my screen now. Now is the time for the audience to ask any questions that you have. You can put them in the chat or open your mic and ask your questions. And since I don't see anything already in the chat, maybe we can jump into a few questions that we have for you. So the first question we have is about the assessment. So labeled solutions have to be assessed for their reusability in the interoperability assessments. Would it make sense for public authorities to look in this context at the reusability of eDelivery for the implementation of the assessed decision? And would it be a straightforward or would it be a difficult assessment?
I think it would absolutely make sense. I think by the very presentation I just gave, it is clear that there is wide applicability of eDelivery. So whenever the relevant decision or legal proposal, etc., has to do with secure communication of data or documents among multiple organizations, I think eDelivery should qualify as a de facto assessed solution. Straightforward or difficult, I would say this depends a bit on the level at which the assessment has to go. It is quite clear that from a certain level of assessment, it is very clear if eDelivery is a good fit or relevant for a specific decision or not. If, of course, you want to assess costs, you want to assess technical details, you want to assess any number of implementation complexity aspects, then it can get a bit difficult, but not particularly difficult, just like you have to do with any IT architecture. eDelivery is no different. Well, we propose a model, a blueprint. Implementing that blueprint needs to be understood beyond a certain stage, and I think I would say it's neither easy nor difficult. It's as expected in IT architecture design.
Great, thank you. We see a question in
There
the
is a
chat.
question.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So, what is the EU expectance for eDelivery to be implemented in all member states and to be centralized?
What is the expectance? I'm trying to parse the question. What is the EU expectance for eDelivery to be? I would say the centralized part is not really in the cards because eDelivery is inherently a decentralized solution. So what this means is that you do not have a single entity that is operating an eDelivery solution. If you look back at my example from the once only technical system, it is already deployed in all member states, and every member state has at least one eDelivery access point. And then there is some central part having to do with network configuration and coordination and so on. But broadly speaking, the system is decentralized. So in regard to the centralized part, I would say it is not how eDelivery works. Whether it is to be implemented, I would say it is already implemented, but it is implemented in specific ecosystems. Of course, you can refer to this as projects or as workflows or what have you. So it's not the case that all secure communication in the EU will ever go through eDelivery. I mean, that's nobody's put this goal on the table at the moment. It is we have hundreds, if not thousands, of systems operating in Europe today. Some of them found it useful to reuse eDelivery, and we are here to make sure that others like them, current or future, are aware of this option and consider it as perhaps a better option than inventing different solution for interconnection.
Great, thank you. Okay, being conscious of time, I will go to one more question that we have, which is this one. What is the first step to take your solution? And then we will ask some questions the audience. But Bogdan, maybe you can
the first
share a
step,
few words.
I think it's to understand that you have to do it in an organized way. So eDelivery does not make sense as a single user, right? So you will never say, well, in my organization, I decided to use eDelivery and I will look at how to do it. That will never make sense because eDelivery is inherently about communication between different organizations. So you would always either be brought into a community where there was already a decision, or perhaps there is an assessment whether to use eDelivery, and then of course you will be piloting, you will be imagining, discussing, comparing options. So if you are in that position, then I think you will have guidance coming primarily through your community of looking at eDelivery or implementing eDelivery if it's already at that stage. If you are yourself a coordinator of such an initiative, whether it's a national or a cross-border one, then I think that the very first step is talk to us. There are many specificities to every ecosystem that we can help you go through quite quickly. Of course, we have a rich website already, so I invite you to have a look and read a little bit about eDelivery on the website. But at some point, I think you will have questions quite soon from our experience, and we are happy to have an hour with you where we go through your questions, we go through your specific case, and we guide you a bit more to where to go next. So get in touch with us. We have a support office. They will know what to do. And we can, if you are again a coordinator of an upcoming ecosystem or of a transition between our different architectures, speak to us and we will get into the discussion with you, and I'm very happy to do so.
Great, thank you. We see one more question in the chat. In the meantime, we will be sharing a Slido session in the screen where we would appreciate your feedback on 3 simple questions we have about eDelivery and its the solution and what you are using in your organization. So if you can check that session in the meantime. The question in the chat says how you manage certificates, addresses, and further meta information of communication partners, sender and recipient, if within special directories with multiple directories for each business domain or central directory for each state, or both variants.
Yes, indeed. That's a very relevant question for eDelivery. I would very quickly say the following. We have both options available to implementers. So if you are a small, or if a certain community is small, they have in the lower tens of access points, let's say 10, 20, maybe 30, most likely they will go for a static configuration. What does this mean? There is no central access point. There is just a coordinator that will collect certificates and distribute certificates either through a special process or through a special system. We have seen both cases. And then every single access point from those 10, 20 will locally install that list and have to keep it updated over time. That's for small networks. If you are looking at a bigger network like PayPal, which is, let's say, by far the biggest example that comes to mind, then we have what we call dynamic discovery, which is very much a distributed system that allows any ecosystem, PayPal has done this at scale, to establish a 2-layered lookup service. So you have the first level of the lookup service, which is based on the protocol called BDXL, and that's where you can publish information in the DNS. So you can reuse essentially the standard DNS infrastructure in a special way that is part of this standard. And what you put there is a simple option to look up starting from an identifier. So I know I need to send a document or data to let's say the identifier is a VAT number. That's an easy example to take. Then I know the VAT number of the company, and I put that number in a special way, okay, in a DNS query, and then the response will point me to the server where I can find more data, metadata about where the service provider for that participant in the network can be found, right? So it is the 2-stage lookup, and that means that you have a starting point which is central, but then very, very quickly, the bigger amount of data can be distributed in any number of what we call SMP servers. And those, you can have hundreds of them, and every ecosystem can choose how to organize them. Is it one per member state, a single one for the entire network, or tens and hundreds in every member state? That is really a specific choice to be made. But the technology and the standards are there to give you full flexibility.
Great, thank you. I don't think we have any more questions. So we can thank you for replying to the survey we're sharing. This last question is about how you evaluate the potential of the solution that was just presented. So we would very much like your feedback here as well. And okay, I would like to see that it is a 5 out of 5 for many of you. And I think that we can slowly move on to our next solution for the day. Thank you very much, Bogdan, for the presentation.
Thank you for the invitation, and to the audience for their attention. Goodbye.
Share my screen. So, oh, I'm sorry. So now we will give the floor to Petri, who will present the extra data exchange layer. Petri, feel free to take the share and start.
Yeah, thanks, Vicky. Let me share my screen. So hopefully you can now see it. So good morning or good afternoon, everyone, depending where you are located. My name is Petteri Kivimäki. I'm the CTO of Nordic Institute for Interoperability Solutions, NIS for short. And next, I'm going to share some insights on X-Road data exchange layer with you. But before diving into X-Road, just a couple of words about NIS. So NIS is a non-profit association which mission is to develop digital government solutions to its members. Currently, we have 8 members overall, and we are also actively looking for new members, especially from European countries. So NIS is not a closed club. Originally, NIS was established in 2017 by Estonia and Finland, and since then 6 other members have joined us. And our main product is X-Road data exchange layer. And you could call us the software vendor of X-Road, even if we are not actually selling anything, because X-Road is free and open source. But when it comes to our role and responsibilities regarding X-Road, we are like the software vendor. We are responsible for the development of the solution and also maintaining the technical implementation, documentation, requirements, and so on. However, what we do not do is to operate any X-Road instances or ecosystems. The operations is always the responsibility of the party using X-Road. So pretty clear share of responsibilities. But when it comes to X-Road, like I already mentioned, it's an open source solution licensed under the MIT open source license. It provides secure way to exchange data between organizations. It's a decentralized solution that is centrally managed. Sounds a little bit conflicting, but pretty soon you will understand what it means in practice. X-Road is one of the most deployed digital public infrastructure components around the world. And it's also a digital public good verified by the Digital Public Goods Alliance. Currently, there are 29 known X-Road ecosystems around the world, and in the countries where X-Road is being used, there are almost 600 million people living there, which are potential end users for X-Road-based services. And in the X-Road community, we have people from almost 170 countries, and the total number of community members is over 5,000. So when looking at these numbers, you can say that X-Road is truly a global solution. When it comes to data exchange ecosystems in general, quite often they are policy domain or business domain based, meaning that you have a data exchange ecosystem for, let's say, healthcare, finance, transportation services, and so on. So X-Road is a little bit different when it comes to this. The most typical way to deploy X-Road is on a national level, meaning using X-Road as a national data exchange solution. And this is the way how X-Road is being used in Estonia and Finland, for example. So the public sector is the owner of the national X-Road ecosystem. Usually it's the National Digital Agency who is running the ecosystem, but then all different kind of organizations are allowed to join the ecosystem and exchange data with each other. And when you look at the organizations included in this diagram, these are all taken from the Estonian X-Road ecosystem. So this is not like an imaginary exercise, but taken from a real X-Road ecosystem. So you can see the variety of different types of organizations. And one thing that enables this kind of approach is that X-Road is fully message type and message structure agnostic, meaning that you can exchange any kind of data over X-Road, SOAP, JSON, text, binary, it can be clear text, it can be encrypted, it can be whatever. X-Road doesn't care about it. The same goes with the semantics. You are not enforced to use any specific semantic model. But of course, when it comes to the message structure and semantics, the data exchange parties still need to agree on it so that they can understand each other. But X-Road is a secure transport layer between the parties, and it can be used to exchange any kind of data. So even if the national deployment model is the most common way to deploy X-Road, there are no technical reasons why X-Road couldn't be used also for business domain specific deployments, or for example, state level deployments. We know there are use cases where X-Road is being used in federal states. For example, real example from Argentina. Argentina is a federal state. They have like 14 provinces, and they are implementing X-Road so that every province has its own X-Road ecosystem, and then the provincial ecosystems are connected to one another over federation, so that they have a nationwide network over X-Road that provides interoperability and security on both state and national level. So different kind of options are definitely possible. Well, when it comes to how X-Road actually works, the main principle is very similar to eDelivery. So many things that Bogdan already explained also apply to X-Road. So X-Road, just like eDelivery, is based on a so-called four-corner model. And the main idea of the four-corner model is that information systems are not connected directly, but instead they communicate through unified access points. In eDelivery, the component is called access point, and in X-Road instead the component is called the security server. And in practice, every organization belonging to an X-Road ecosystem, they have their own security server, and all the data that is exchanged with other organizations, it flows through the security servers that guarantee the security of the data exchange and also provide additional features that can be utilized. And it's good to keep in mind that this diagram, of course, it's a simplification or compared to a real life setup. So in real life, organizations can have more than one security server, which is often the case with bigger organizations because they want to achieve high availability, or because they have some, well, organizational boundaries within the organization, which is why they want to, or they need to operate multiple technical access points. At the same time, smaller organizations may share the same security server, meaning that one organization is shared by multiple smaller organizations, which makes joining the ecosystem easier and also lowers the cost. It's quite common that commercial actors are providing hosting services, and then you can choose whether to use your own dedicated security server, a security server cluster, or a shared security server. This diagram illustrates in a little bit more detail how data exchange works in X-Road. Well, the very basic idea is the same than in eDelivery. The data is always exchanged directly between the service consumer and service provider, and it flows through the security servers. When it comes to the data exchange, there is never a third party between the data exchange parties. So the service provider and service consumer are only able to access the data that is being exchanged. But earlier I mentioned that X-Road is based on a decentralized architecture, but it's centrally managed. So the centrally managed part means that even if the actual data exchange is decentralized, there are some central components. For example, the central server is the member registry of the X-Road ecosystem and kind of the root of trust as well. So when new organizations join the ecosystem, they are always registered to the central server. So the member organization and the security server, they are registered to the central server, which maintains the member registry. And then the registry data is distributed to the security servers, and the security servers can use that data to establish trust during data transactions. But the way how the data is accessed is implemented so that the central server can be unavailable even for days without affecting the actual data exchange between the member organizations. One of the key features of X-Road is federation, which means connecting two X-Road ecosystems to one another. And when two X-Road ecosystems are connected, the members of those two ecosystems can exchange data with each other as if they were members of the same X-Road ecosystem. They can use their existing security server to exchange data with the other ecosystem. And technically, setting this up is very easy. It takes 15 minutes. If you know what you're doing, you just have to upload a couple of files and that's it. But then, besides the technical side of things, also there is an administrative process that is required. So there needs to be a federation agreement between the two X-Road ecosystem operators, the digital agencies usually, and then of course there needs to be a data exchange agreement between the member organizations. And when it comes to a cross-border setup, these processes, they may be a little bit more complicated compared to a national setting. Then Bogdan already mentioned the once-only technical system, and X-Road is also indirectly related to it. So as we know, the European once-only technical system uses eDelivery as its transport layer. But it is possible to connect services that are published to X-Road to the European once-only technical system. So if there is a country who is using X-Road as a national once-only technical system, as their national data exchange layer, it is possible to publish services that are available in the national ecosystem to the European once-only technical system reusing the existing interfaces and integrations. And like I mentioned, Estonia and Finland, they have their national X-Road ecosystems, and they have implemented this approach when connecting services to the European once-only technical system. So the services to be published there, they are already connected to their national X-Road ecosystems, and they are reusing the same interfaces, the same integrations when those services are made available to the European once-only technical system. Of course, that doesn't happen out of the box. There needs to be this once-only technical system component that is implemented nationally, that takes care of some identifier mapping, message transformations, and so on. But in practice, this proves how X-Road and eDelivery can work together. It's already happening in the context of the one-only technical system, and similar setup could be built for some other eDelivery policy domain as well, if needed. So I think this is a good example that shows how how we can reuse X-Road and eDelivery together. So you definitely shouldn't consider them as competitors, but rather alternatives that can be also used together. Then when it comes to getting support for using X-Road, of course, NISE provides free online resources. For example, we have X-Road Academy that provides free online training for anyone. Then we have the X-Road Slack community, a lot of free material available. But we also have commercial partners providing commercial support. So X-Road technology partners, they are companies that have prior experience in working with X-Road, and they provide different kind of X-Road related services, let it be consulting, hosting, development, implementation, whatever you need regarding X-Road, these companies can provide it for you. So yeah, and these companies, some of them are European, some of them are outside of Europe. So also the geographically, they are pretty well spread. Then a few words about the next version of X-Road, which is X-Road 8 Spaceship. So currently, X-Road is based on its own custom protocol stack. And the current approach, it provides interoperability within one X-Road ecosystem and between two different X-Road ecosystems through federation. However, if you want to exchange data with some other ecosystem using some other technology, then you need some kind of a gateway or adapter. And that's not very sustainable approach, especially if you need to connect to many other ecosystems as well. And we have seen that the role and importance of data exchange is increasing all the time, meaning that organizations usually need to be members of many different ecosystems, not just one. And we want to make X-Road the tool that you can use to connect not just one ecosystem, but to many different ecosystems. And we are going to achieve that by transforming X-Road into a data space solution. In practice, we are going to replace X-Road's custom protocol stack with the standard data space protocol stack. And after that, those data space protocols, they are used in X-Road within one X-Road ecosystem, between two X-Road ecosystems, and also in the communications with other ecosystems, which means that X-Road becomes interoperable with other data exchange ecosystems and data spaces using the same protocol stack. So we are kind of switching our approach from a purely like a solution-based approach to more specification and a standard-centric approach. And well, like I mentioned, the vision of X-Road 8 is to transform X-Road into a data space solution. The goal is to, of course, to keep all the good that X-Road already has, but to get rid of all the bad and the ugly. So meaning we want to keep the proven ecosystem model and security, but at the same time then make X-Road more interoperable and make it an established data space solution. And of course, when we are implementing these changes, our biggest challenge is backwards compatibility. As you can imagine, we cannot just change things and break everything, but all the changes that we implement, we must implement in a backwards compatible manner, meaning that all the existing X-Road users can upgrade to X-Road 8 without having to rework their integrations to X-Road. So in other words, whether you are already using X-Road or you are considering using X-Road, no worries in a sense that this change is being implemented in a backwards compatible way. So once you upgrade to Xroad 8, then you will get the data space compatibility almost automatically. And then finally, here is a summary of the benefits that Xroad brings to you. Overall, Xroad is well-established, battle-proven solution that is being developed actively. And if you join NIS as a member, then you can also participate in the development of Xroad, steering the development of Xroad, meaning that you're not just a user who gets everything that NIS does for free, but you can also participate in decision making if you have your own specific requirements, if you want to have a say which direction Xroad can go, then you can have it. So yeah, I think that's it. Thanks for listening, and next I think we have some time for questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Petri, very much. Indeed, we can go to our questions from the audience. So if you have any questions, we see a hand raised. So, no, I lost it. Oh, yes. Gerard, do you have a question?
I do not hear you.
Sorry. Thanks for this presentation, which was quite clear on many elements. I still have a few questions. Perhaps one is, how exactly is the encryption working, the securization? I understood that you are also using internet, so I guess you're encrypting in some way the connection. And then the other question is more from a strategic point of view or principle. There are quite a few similarities, or a lot of similarities between what you present about Xroad and what is done in eDelivery. So the question is then, why or where do you then see the advantages of Xroad compared to an eDelivery approach? Because you could do everything that you are describing also on a national level with an eDelivery approach, so nothing hinders you to use eDelivery to achieve this. We have already 36 eDelivery networks at European level. eDelivery is a very largely used technology already for, I would say, more than 20 years now. So what would be then the reason, or what should be the reason for a country to use Xroad instead of an eDelivery approach? It would be more compliant to what is generally used at European level. And how would you position yourself regarding to these eDelivery networks, which are quite dominant and quite largely used, like, or for example, PEPL, which is used worldwide, can be used at the national level and at the cross-border level without any specific work. So you are just connecting once, and you are communicating with millions of participants. So where would be the advantage, and why should a member state try to perhaps complicate its life, or not, by not simply using an eDelivery approach, and by guaranteeing perhaps more interoperability also in this regard? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the question. So let's start from the more straightforward one, so about the encryption. So Xroad uses transport layer encryption between the security servers. So basically mutual TLS authentication. And then depending on the configuration, of course, it's recommended to use TLS also between the information system and the security server. But similarly, just like with eDelivery, X-Road covers the connection between the access points. So it's not end-to-end encrypted in a sense that there is no single encryption channel between the service consumer and service provider, but instead the connection consists at least 3 different TLS connections. Sometimes can be even more depending on the network infrastructure of the service consumer and service provider. Then the second question and more complicated one. We see X-Road as an ecosystem solution. So you use X-Road to implement an ecosystem. So here what you can see, yes, this part is very similar to eDelivery, but then this is like the core of X-Road. But in a typical X-Road ecosystem, we also have additional components like a service catalog, human readable portal for exploring services that is available in this ecosystem that is automatically populated by the service descriptions provided by the service providers. And then we also have various monitoring components that can be used to centrally monitor the ecosystem both technically and from like statistical point of view. You can collect different kind of metrics about the ecosystem use, and you can also use that data to analyze and discover if there is something strange happening in the ecosystem. So that's maybe one of the biggest differences that I can see compared to eDelivery, because eDelivery, as far as I know, doesn't have this kind of ecosystem features available.
Sorry, I would disagree with that, because what makes an eDelivery network is an ecosystem and the common governance. So that is what eDelivery network is really about. If you take, for example, a network like PEPL, what makes PEPL strong is this governance and this ecosystem that exists for more than 20 years, and where the rules are defined together, and you have also reporting about the usage of the network. So I don't think that you don't have an ecosystem in an eDelivery network. That's then the eDelivery network would not work. Yeah.
Well, I don't claim that you don't have ecosystem in an eDelivery network, but I just say that maybe X-Road provides more certain kind of ecosystem level features and ready made components.
Network. If you take, for example, PEPL is a network used now in 50 countries, Asia, Africa, Arab countries, Europe, United States. So I think the ecosystem is I would guess stronger in such a network than what you have in an X-Road context.
We also have X-Road ecosystems in South America, Africa, Europe, Asia. So also in that case, the network and ecosystem is pretty strong. And by the way, X-Road was first implemented already in 2001, so it's 25 years old already.
Yeah, PEPL was implemented in 2002. So
yeah, so pretty much.
Yeah,
ballpark.
But it's based also on things that existed before. But another topic is you seem to present the fact that you have non-standardized payloads as an advantage, but that doesn't seem to be necessarily an advantage. It could be an advantage in some use cases, but most of the time it is not something you want to have, because then you are not really achieving interoperability. And one of the advantages of an eDelivery network is that most of the time it is used to exchange standardized, commonly agreed, structured evidence types, which then makes it not necessary anymore to have an agreement with one-to-one with the receiver about what he gets. And this is obviously a better approach to achieve interoperability than to simply let people exchange anything through a network. So why do you consider exchange of non-standardized documents as an advantage, or at least it sounded like?
Yeah, well, I personally consider it as an advantage because it means that you can connect existing services without having to make any technical changes. If you have an existing REST API, you can publish it in X-Road in a minute as is without any changes. But of course, you are right. The data exchange parties, they need to agree on the format, they need to agree on the semantics, and it doesn't work very well so that every party has to agree on those details one-to-one. But usually with X-Road, those details, they are agreed on the ecosystem level. So there is a wider agreement how the data is being exchanged. But X-Road as a transport layer, it doesn't set any technical requirements to it, which makes it easier to connect existing services. You don't need to implement changes to your information systems necessarily. You don't need to implement additional adapter components and so on. So that's why I personally consider it as a benefit.
Is confirmed with 91 votes and 3 objections. Thank you. And that moves.
You seem to have run the PEPAL General Assembly in the background, and we can hear it.
Oh, okay. So we were wondering where the audio comes from. Okay, because we just have 10 minutes in the session, so this is a very interesting conversation. There's also one question in the chat area from Philip regarding. So here, are we good, Gerard? Do you want to add something else? Because again, here I understand.
No, I think it's good. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. And yeah, Vicky, we have one question from Philip. If you want to take it with.
Yes. So we see, does X-Road plan to exchange its internal secure data exchange with eDelivery in the medium or long term, as it is based on open and freely available standards? And I don't know if it's a question for both Bogdan and Petteri, this one.
Well, I can respond from X-Road side. So the answer is no. But like I mentioned before, we are currently implementing changes to the X-Road protocols, and we are getting rid of the custom protocol related things, and we are switching to standard data space protocols. So we are going to implement the data space protocol, DSP, for contract negotiation, service discovery, and so on. And then the decentralized claims protocol, DCP, for credentials issuing and exchange. And those are both becoming official ISO standards later this year. So we are currently working on that implementation. So X-Road will become standards-based later this year.
If you want, I can comment very quickly on this, but
sure, yes.
Of course, what X-Road will do is not for me to answer about. Petteri is here from X-Road. What I wanted to say is that in the context of the data space protocol, I'm not that familiar, but we had the collaboration with the Simple project, which is developing middleware for data spaces. And I think that the data space protocol has a much wider scope than the data exchange protocol that we are, of course, focused on. And we demonstrated in a proof of concept that in a data space protocol driven approach and an ecosystem, obviously you can use multiple transmission methods, one of which can be eDelivery, and we showcased through a pilot how this can be done. So just to say that I think what the strategy of X-Road to become a data space and the use of eDelivery in certain contexts where you have a pre-existing network, especially, are very much compatible from my point of view. Now, whether this will be implemented or not remains to be seen, depending on needs. But technologically speaking, it can happen. Thank you.
Great, thank you both so much. Are there any questions from the audience? I don't see anything in the chat or any hands raised. So maybe we can jump into reaching the end of the session. Maybe we can jump into the questions for the audience. So we can open Slido again. And let's go to the first question. So do you already have a similar solution in your organization? Now we're discussing about X-Road. And it's nice, we saw before that people were using both X-Road and eDelivery, unless there are any new inputs to add here. Okay, we see no from the majority. Okay, good. So are you satisfied with your current solution? Should not be applicable here, since we saw that you're not using a similar solution in your organizations. So let's go to the last question, which is, how do you evaluate the potential of X-Road? And we would very much appreciate your input here. And any further elaboration you would like to make here, feel free to write in the chat. You can use the WebEx chat or the Slido chat, or of course, open your mic and share anything you would like. Okay. We see a 4.2 overall average score, so that's a good evaluation. Okay. We don't see any more people answering, so we will resume with the presentation to slowly wrap up. Let me... Okay. So I believe we have concluded both presentations. Thank you very much, Bogdan and Petri, again, for the very insightful information. On our side, we would like to share a bit about our upcoming events. We're 2 more peer learning sessions coming on the 7th and on the 20th of May. I think my colleagues can share the events page we have in the chat, where you can gain more information about all events and register to them. Also keep an eye out for the portal's user group meeting that will happen on the 4th of June. And of course, the Interoperable Europe Academy's seasonal school, which is again in June the 9th and the 10th. On our side, I think this concludes the session. We will also share in the chat the feedback survey we have for events, where we would very much appreciate if you took a few minutes to complete, to provide your input on the portal and on this session. And unless there are any last-minute comments or remarks, I think we can conclude the session here.
Great, thank you, Vicky. Thanks to the presenters and to the audience, obviously, for attending this interesting session. Bernard, do you wish to
Just a big thank you to our speakers, Bogdan and Petri, for the clear and engaging presentation of eDelivery and Xroad. So thank you all for your active participation today. And as a reminder, a recording of this session will be available on our website soon. And don't hesitate to contact us to our website to regarding these two solutions, or if you have any other topic related, or if you have any question about any topic related to interoperability. And like Vicky presented, we warmly invite you to our next learning sessions in May and to the seasonal schools in June. So thank you very much and have a good day.